In today's video, we're going to be reviewing Palantir and Flock's employee handbook that I have here. I actually got a copy of this. You're not supposed to be able to get something like this. I mean, look at it, it's bound in human flesh. Let's go ahead and read a line from this. Noctu Barada Nicto. All right, I don't know if you'd get the joke of that at all, but that's the Necronomicon, and reading from that can do horrible, horrible things. The joke is that Palantir and Flock are evil, and they have a direct line to the underworld. Flock and Palantir have been all the news recently. There has been a colossal uproar among people. Anti-Flock, stop Flock. Flock is bad, Flock is good, a few bootlickers have said, but the general consensus of the public is that we don't like to be spied on, and we don't really want to become a police state. More than we already are, to be fair. I think we're pretty much there already. In my last video about Flock, we talked about some pretty bad stuff, and in this week's video, we're gonna be talking about some more pretty bad stuff, but a few interesting things that have happened recently, specifically in a county nearby where I live, Hood County, Texas. You see this trash bag on a pole? There's a Flock camera under there. In April of 2026, all 4 Hood County commissioners that were present voted to discontinue Hood County's Flock system and pursue a refund. And by August, the cameras had been fully covered and their refund, hopefully, is coming. Hood County is very close to where I live. It has a little town in it called Granbury, and there is a massive police presence there. It's good to see finally some institutional pushback on this colossal problem for our privacy. I don't drive on roads where there's Flock cameras. I don't really leave my house very much, as you can tell by the way that I look. Comment down below, should I keep the goatee and the soul patch and the mustache combo? If you watched my first video about Flock, or you just haven't been living under a rock, you already know what the camera does. It photographs passing vehicles, it reads the plates, it notes visible details, and it sends the results into searchable software that police departments have access to. Whenever I need to form an opinion on something, I look to the original slop tuber, the original commentary channel, Benjamin Franklin. He wrote in 1755 that those who would give up essential liberty to purchase a little safety deserve neither liberty nor safety. He said that shit? I thought he just was laying pipe in France. I didn't know about all that cool shit. And the key on the thing, I mean, that guy was pretty smart. He also woke up at 5 a.m. and he was full of shit about a lot of stuff as well. I don't know what the original quote was in regard to, and I'm not gonna look it up, so. It's important to note that there are a ton of people who are very pro-Flock because they don't see a problem with it. They see it as just a crime-stopping thing. For example, people like Mike Israetel, who is at this point a lolcow. Let's be real.
I've had, in the last week and a half, multiple conversations with GPT-4 that brought me to literal tears.
I don't really share a lot of the same ideas. I don't really want to be recorded, okay, in public. I don't give a if it's in public. I want a right to privacy basically everywhere I go as much as possible. There are plenty of people who are for Flock cameras, that's the point. And in the local example that I gave earlier of Hood County getting rid of all of theirs, on April 14th, before all this happened, the Hood County Commissioner's Court heard one of the better arguments that they had for leaving the cameras alone and just letting them be and allowing the police to use them. Sean McGuire, the county's emergency communications director, said that the systems had helped him track a suspected child predator along Interstate 20. He also told the court that he had audited local searches for hours and found nothing that could help him. And he then went on to describe another case in which a kidnapped child had been found using Flock and other tools. All awesome stuff. Those are a few great wins. And the equipment worked for him and his specific reasoning, and he wanted to keep it. It's very important, by the way, because he's a policeman and he wants to stop crimes and blah, blah, blah. Nobody's against child predators being caught, and no serious person, when taking account of this technology, can pretend that these systems would never produce a useful lead or catch bad guys in a meaningful way, potentially. A camera that's just recording every single car that exists will sometimes record a car that the police need. Of course. So Hood County had a public employee that could literally point to cases where the access given by Flock and the system had helped, but the meeting still ended up 4-0 against keeping Flock for Hood County. So, Were the commissioners taking a huge W for civil liberties? There's more problems and there's more information behind it, obviously. Part of the problem was the way that the purchase had arrived for the flock cameras. According to the Hood County News, the flock project began with a grant aimed at catalytic converter theft. Commissioner Nanette Samuelson said the court had never approved the contract and that a work order had gone to the sheriff's office without the court knowing about it. And that then $131,000 had been paid without the commissioner's approval. And some of the cameras were even delayed and some never even arrived, and the county wanted its $126,000 back. Taxpayer money, by the way, just extremely clear there. So one of the main reasons that they wanted to get rid of them is because they didn't approve the purchase, which isn't exactly like, we need to get them out of there because they're recording us and we don't like being recorded and having all our data. Somebody wrote a check that the commissioners didn't approve, which is still, I guess, good that there's not, unauthorized spending on bullshit like that. Well, there was unauthorized spending, but they eventually audited it and caught up with it. Another commissioner, Dave Eagle, which is a very cool name, his concern was the following: any tool that can work for you can be used against you. Which is exactly true. That's completely right, Dave Eagle, and I think that's one of the reasons why people hate all of this shit. For one, they're tired of being lied to constantly and unequivocally, and now demonstrably because of the internet. We can see the lies happening in real time. So there is a tremendous amount of distrust, and when you have a lot of power thrown in the court of a bunch of corporations that are then used as a tool by these entities that always lie to us. Also, local government sucks, by the way. I think there's a lot of small communities that are very lucky, but by and large, local government is more complacent than the federal government somehow. There are some massive superstars and some winners and like genuine communities, and every place that I've lived, to be fair, is amazing in terms of the local government, but there's some horror stories out there. And at every turn, we're just getting taken advantage of. There's just zero representation for people who have just normal ideas. During the meeting, another commissioner held up a phone as kind of a Saul Goodman type gotcha and reminded the audience that phones can track people too. But people in the room said, people choose to carry a phone. You can turn the phone off and put it in a Faraday cage. If you turn a flock camera off and put it in a Faraday cage, it's a felony. Just so you know that. And nobody consented to being recorded all the time while they're in their vehicle.
Well, it's because we're in public. We're on public roads.
What if I put your head in a guillotine? What if you were tarred and feathered, and then I put your head in a guillotine? That's a joke. I would never put anyone's head in a guillotine. What is this, 18th century France? No, and I hate croissant, okay? Got some dust on me. There's like dust all over this. Oh, never mind, it's sour sand. It's got a lot of hair in it. I would have eaten it, but it's got a lot of hair in it. I record my Sour Boys videos here, guys. I got a lot of candy on the desk here. Hey, you know that I have a candy company? There's a lot of new people in this video, so I'll take the opportunity. If you go to squires.gg, you can sign up for our monthly new flavors box. We do 4 new flavors a month that you can get in that box with a 5th flavor that is hyper limited. The only guaranteed way to get it is to subscribe to the Squires box. There's a few hundred that sell out almost immediately on the site of that 5th uber rare flavor. So collect all the flavors, collect all the art, help support our team of real artists. No AI, Ray, Wolfie, Miranda, me. I do art. Just kidding, I don't do art. I'm terrible at art. But I could learn though. I've learned that I can learn art. I have learned that, and that's a beautiful thing. So, if you want to try some candy and support some real people making some real shit, go to squires.gg and sign up for the monthly subscription box. You also get free shipping and a cool lore pamphlet and a cool box. It's really dope. You can also just buy candy at sour.gg. It's the same exact website. It's just a forwarded domain. I own that company. I guess I have to say that. I'm not exactly sure. Thank you to sour.gg for sponsoring this video. It's kind of cool because it's a big brand now, and we work with a bunch of vendors and suppliers, and I can say that we have official convictions and like stances on stuff. So Sour Boys thinks that human art is good. We think I think, and I'm the owner of Sour Boys, that flock cameras suck. I think that the government sucks. I think that the war in Iran is a scam. I think that basically every single idea we've been fed, while I've been alive at least, from the mainstream media to even just sources on the internet, it's just all lies and it's all bullshit. And it's as old as time itself, the idea of divide and conquer. What else? I think a lot of our politicians are puppets of a foreign power that should have absolutely zero control or influence over our country in any way. And they should stop murdering people. What else? That's pretty much it. It's a shame how far we have fallen. It makes me want to read from this Necronomicon. Those are the official opinions of Sour Boys, by the way. Anyways, what happened in Hood County was awesome. It made me really happy for Texas for a very short period of time, because this state's got a lot of awesome stuff going for it, and then a lot of really sad and bad stuff that unfortunately is happening. For example, just banning weed again. I mean, come on, guys. What's wrong with you? This place could be so cool. You're gonna lose. Do you know that you're all gonna lose if you continue that? You're going to lose. That's never mind. This is not a political video, I'm sorry. Order in the court! Anyway, a county changed course. There was real democracy happening, or whatever the it's called now. Now, the county has to actually turn them bitches off. I saw this on Facebook. Actually, Clint, my cousin, sent this to me on Facebook, and I was like, man, what a win. I need to talk about that in an actual video, because it isn't over yet. They got plastic bags over them for right now. And they still have a good long way to go, because Flock's current standard customer terms, last updated in February of 2026, say the customer may not remove, reposition, reinstall, tamper with, alter, adjust, or take possession of or control Flock hardware. And the same terms allow Flock to cut off a customer, the government, police stations, people who are getting these things out there. They can cut off a customer's web access and remove hardware when and if a bill goes unpaid. Wait a second! Flock's terms of service change on August 21st, the day I recorded the video. The hardware language is still there. Customers are still prohibited from removing, repositioning, reinstalling, altering, or taking control of Flock hardware. And Flock still promises to remove the equipment within a commercially reasonable period. And the provision that allows Flock to cut off access and remove hardware after a payment default remains. Most of the changes concern data and misuse. The new terms explicitly say Flock will not sell customer data. Unauthorized sharing is now identified as a breach. Customer data is classified as confidential, and customers can request deletion within 90 days after termination, which is subject to legal and audit log and evidentiary exceptions. Flock also can suspend a user based on reasonably suspected violations. So either way, Flock added some pretty meaningful protections on the good side, but it's still horrifying. By the way, these are online standard terms. These are not blanket terms. Some customers may have separate static or negotiated agreements. How about another place that's doing this? Verona, Wisconsin. They voted not to renew 3 cameras. And emails later obtained by the source from the last video, 404 Media, show city employees repeatedly asking Flock to take down the cameras. Flock told the city not to remove the equipment itself. One company employee was even unsure if the cameras could be disabled remotely. And then a work order appeared for maintenance instead of removal. City workers finally had to put black bags over the cameras while they waited. And what does Flock say about this? Flock says, no, that's like a good guy. What would Flock do? No, that seems like a good guy too. No, that's also kind of a good guy. Why can't I do any bad guy stuff? No, that's also probably good. I don't know. What would Flock do? What did Flock say? Y'all ever rip a nose hair out and have a transcendental experience? Flock said the confusion arose because Verona chose not to renew rather than canceling in the middle of the contract.
Oh, classic confusion.
So they literally are operating on some Necronomicon type shit, all right? You know? Hey, I'd like to get rid of my product that's spying on all my people that they didn't agree to. Oh, I've got to read from this book, this employee handbook? Oh, okay. Then there's a large explosion or something like that. Anyways, it's kind of up when a community decides that they don't want Flock cameras anymore, from the civilian level to the government level, and they just can't do anything about it. They gotta cover the things up with bags. And there's just no clear answer as to whether or not they're recording anymore. Now, how about Evanston, Illinois? Also, they covered their cameras after officials asked for them to be switched off, and some were later reinstalled. Cambridge, Massachusetts, as well, they ordered 16 cameras to be deactivated, and weeks later, Flock technicians installed 2 new ones because of an outstanding work order that had not been canceled. In that case, the city referred to it as a material breach of trust and terminated the contract. Flock representative later said the 2 cameras were removed and nobody accessed their data. Oh, that's good. In Eugene, Oregon, officials directed Flock to deactivate 57 cameras, and weeks later, the police auditor opened an investigation after at least 1 still remained active. So these things are very hard to get rid of. And Flock's public portal showed nearly 8,500 captures in the days preceding this audit. So, not only do they record us without our consent, but they also don't have an off switch. Nobody can push the off switch. The people that get them in can't turn them off. They have to cover them with trash bags. And if we do that, we go to jail. And if they do that, I don't know. That's the only way to get rid of them. It's very confusing. And to be clear too, I'm not trying very hard to be biased. It doesn't require any misrepresentation to make this seem like a bad bullshit idea that has absolutely 0 wins for anybody. We know that when a government official says the cameras are now off, there are at least 8 things that could mean. The account could be disabled, but the camera keeps capturing. Alerts could be muted, but records continued to accumulate. Uploads might stop, but data stays on the device. Outside sharing may be disabled, but local searches might remain available. The camera might stop taking new images, but old ones are still searchable. Records may be scheduled for deletion, but still exist inside some sort of preserved state or hardware. Then the hardware may lose power, and finally, somebody may physically remove the Flock camera from the pole. That's the only real way, but that's against the terms. And you might get in trouble if you do that, if you take it down, okay? The old black bag is the best way to do it, and it's gloriously idiotic. I love it. It just ends the whole thing. Also, a shotgun works, and also baseball bats work, and there's plenty of other methods, but you go to jail once again. Only city officials are allowed to use black bags, because yeah, if you do the shotgun thing, it's felony vandalism, unfortunately. And also, this whole time I've been saying Hood County, and the city of Granbury is the seat of the county. That's the county's seat. They have their own separate Flock network. Just the county has disabled them, so the main city in that county still has a ton of them. So don't go fishing at Lake Granbury, all right? Or go fish. It's a nice little town, all right? I like Granbury a lot. It's kind of popping, honestly. And they're always protesting data centers, which is pretty badass to see. I love that as well. The city of Granbury's public Flock portal lists 26 cameras and 323,444 vehicle detections as of July 26, 2026. 151 searches and data sharing relationships with a ton of agencies, including several federal entities. So the sheriff's side in Hood County is marked deactivated, but Granbury's is still not. That's how divisive this entire thing is. You have a city at the seat of a county that has a fundamentally different viewpoint, apparently, on privacy of its people, okay? City, county, and it's not a gigantic county, and it's not a big city. There's like 12,000 people in Granbury, and they're all old. Everybody there is old, and they all drive Corvettes. It's insane. A few times in this video, I've mentioned positive things that have come from Flock cameras and kind of what they're designed to do, and are there instances of them actually working or being used, or have there been situations in which they should have worked and they didn't? At 4:03 in the afternoon on December 13th, 2025, a gunman entered an auditorium at Brown University's engineering complex. Students were gathered for a study session, and the shooter fired more than 40 rounds. 2 students were killed and 9 were wounded. The campus in the surrounding College Hill neighborhood had cameras everywhere, but the older engineering building had poor internal coverage, with Brown having roughly 1,200 cameras across its properties. And Providence had more than 70 Flock readers on its city streets at the time. Residential cameras, a bus camera, car cameras, and other CCTV cameras caught pieces of the shooter's route before and after the attack, but none of those gave the police his name. For 3 days, investigators had images of a masked figure and no confirmed vehicle connected to him. And the students that were wounded in the shooting couldn't recognize him anywhere beyond him being the person who just entered the room and started shooting at them. For a short period, he was unidentifiable. But one person knew something that all these cameras and all the surveillance did not catch. The public record calls this person John. John had encountered the suspicious man inside the engineering building and again outside. And during one encounter, the man pressed a key fob and a gray Nissan responded. When police released the images, John wrote on Reddit that investigators should look for a gray Nissan with Florida plates, possibly a rental. Other users told him to contact the authorities. Of course. The affidavit says investigators learned of the tip on December 16th. Until that point, the police had not connected any car to the shooter. The gray Nissan changed the investigation entirely. With that information, officers began to search Providence's Flock network for the type of vehicle that John described. They found a Florida plate, and the records led to a rental agency in Boston and then to the renter, Claudio Manuel Neves Valente, a former Brown doctoral student, and somebody you've probably heard of if you've watched any of the missing scientists videos that have come out over the last year and a half. So the Flock cameras photographed the shooter's car, and according to the state affidavit, which was cited by the AP, Flock cameras captured it at least 14 times, beginning nearly 2 weeks before the actual shooting. Federal affidavit said plate readers saw the car near Brown from December 1st through at least December 12th, and on the morning before the shooting, a reader captured it about 1 mile from campus. 18 minutes later, ordinary CCTV recorded a person investigators later matched to a rental counter video of Neve Valentine. So John gave a tip and Flock helped investigators identify and reconstruct the suspect's movements. And this is a real actual thing that happened. It did not film the shooting, obviously, and it did not identify Neve Valente on its own. And it also did not generate the vehicle clue. John was the one with the clue that made the violation of all of our rights, that archive, actually legible and useful to law enforcement. So the ordinary CCTV recorded a person that investigators later matched to rental counter video of Neves Valente. 2 days after the Brown attack, an MIT professor named Nuno Loureiro was shot at his home in Brookline, Massachusetts. And investigators connected Neves Valente to both attacks. They followed the surveillance video, internet records, the rental paperwork, and the vehicle trail into New Hampshire. And finally, on December 18th, officers entered a storage unit in Salem and found him dead from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. So this suspect was found thanks in part to Flock cameras and specifically the Reddit detective agency. And that is a clean and clear example of them being used as a surveillance tool in law enforcement. In my opinion, did they solve the case? Absolutely not. The clue from John from Reddit is meaningfully more helpful, but it's one of those areas of gray, because obviously the surveillance on the campus didn't really do that well. I mean, sure, Reddit John saw the videos and the static images and was able to say, oh, hey, I saw that guy. And then that tip is what led to then the archive being accessed. So it's certainly a useful tool for law enforcement. That is objectively true. Moving on, we also have the city of Denver vehemently defending their Flock contracts. They love Flock. A person by the name of Jax Gratton, a 34-year-old hairstylist, disappeared in April of 2025. Her body was found nearly 2 months later in a narrow locked space between two buildings in Lakewood. The Denver mayor, Mike Johnston, later told a television station that Flock had solved her kidnapping and murder because Denver and Lakewood could communicate through the camera database. But this was just a lie. At the time, the case was not solved, and reporting found that Flock had helped narrow possible suspects, but Gratton's own mother said that the cameras had nothing to do with finding the people that were involved, and Johnston, the mayor of Denver, acknowledged that he had misspoken. Or lied, seems like. In March 2026, a grand jury indicted Brandon Muma, the last person that authorities said was known to be with Gratton, on charges of tampering with a deceased body and tampering with evidence. The charges are allegations. Prosecutors cited building security footage and phone records, and they did not charge him with murder. Because Gratton's body was badly decomposed, the coroner could not determine how she died or classify the manner of death. So calling that case a Flock-solved kidnapping and murder is a gross overstatement of the role of the product in that investigation. And the mayor of Denver turned a missing woman into a marketing example for Flock. I can't imagine the embarrassment of misspeaking like that, or just lying, I guess. I don't know. It's debatable if he's trying to do a marketing ploy or propaganda ploy. Back to the Hood County meeting for a moment. The argument turned briefly towards facial recognition. Commissioner Samuelson worried that rapidly advancing AI technology could add it later. And a Flock representative told the room that facial recognition could be added if county leaders wanted it. You see, Flock's current public material says its people people search product does not use facial or biometric recognition. Its standard plate readers do not perform people searches. Do those distinctions actually matter? To me, no, not really, but I guess it does make a big difference. Just because you're not searching for a guy's face doesn't mean you're not able to search for a guy wearing a cowboy hat or cowboy boots or a goatee like me or something like that. You know, look for awesome guy with goatee. No, not me though, not me. This product is called Freeform by Flock, and an authorized user can type an ordinary language description instead of, you know, checking boxes. Caucasian male, you can literally type, I want to find a guy with a cool goatee who's awesome. If you search something like that, the software returns possible visual matches for human beings to review. And if you're searching for vehicle-related stuff, that can come from the plate readers, and people results come from enabled video cameras and video feeds, including compatible third-party systems. Because remember, there's all kinds of different cameras. Some of them have people shit, some of them are just the plate readers, some of them are straight from the underworld. Flock advertises the lack of facial recognition as a safeguard and says the system uses visible, non-biometric characteristics such as clothing and accessories and is not designed to establish a person's identity. Then that the access is permission-based. So, and then beyond that, there is an audit log that preserves searches in history. But records reviewed by 404 Media show how officers actually described people in certain instances. Searches included a heavy-set fat man in a black and white hat, a person on a skateboard, someone in an orange vest and construction hat, tattoos, sports shirts, race, and signs of political affiliation. Also slurs as well. Remember that from the last video? People just search slurs in there on a frequent basis. That's not true. Maybe an infrequent basis. It's not frequent. So okay, there's no facial recognition and there's no biometric recognition, but also there's just no consent in general from the public whatsoever. And clothing and accessories and the stickers in your car, the art on your shirt or whatever, those are basically those are fingerprints, right? Oh, it's crazy, dude. Public consent is not able to keep pace with Flock's software, and they're just updates that they push out. The whole thing is insane, and I'm really glad to see a small local county make the right decision, and I'm excited to see how that all plays out. I'll be keeping my ear to the ground on it, because that's a spectacular win, and there's a lot of spectacular abuses that have come with Flock, and they're very easy to see and recognize, and they make headlines. For example, officers tracking their exes, agencies searching for people attending protests, immigration investigations, crossing state laws. For example, what happened in California. I forgot to talk about this, but in California, there are county laws preventing Flock cameras from offering national access into their local databases. So federal agencies can't search local databases, local plate readers, things like that. And those features were turned off by the county, but then through an audit, they found that they were turned back on, and they don't exactly know how they were turned back on or why they were turned back on. So, you know, that's illegal. That's a crime that happened. I think it was in Ventura, California. Anyways, there's plenty of villains and victims and shit like that to talk about when it comes down to these Flock cameras, but there is so much under the surface that's horrifying about these, man. I can't stand it. I want them to go away. I'm not obviously going to commit any felonies or anything like that, and I would never implore anyone to do anything wrong and break any laws, even though I look like I sell coke in the 90s or something. I don't really know. I've never seen anybody who sells coke, so I don't actually know. I'm just making shit up. But this is bad, I do know that. It's the area of gray stuff, the less visible stuff, that's even scarier because it's just, it's everywhere. It's so pervasive, and it's not spectacular enough to make a headline, but it's everywhere, dude. And that's why you watch my videos, is to get little tastes of stuff like this. Take, for example, Beaufort City Schools. They serve roughly 6,000 students in Georgia. It's a small, sought-after school district where a child lives determines, as you know, whether or not a child may attend a certain school district. Families sometimes lie about their addresses to get in desirable schools, and the districts employ people to investigate residency fraud. It's an actual thing. None of this had anything to do with Flock until quite recently. The Electronic Frontier Foundation examined millions of Flock search logs, and between January 2025 and March 2026, Beaufort School Police ran more than 375 searches with the reason listed as school residency verification, or simply RV. Those searches accounted for more than half of everything that the department searched for during that period. In the first 3 months of 2026, residency checks made up 3/4 of all the searches. Some of these searches would run across more than 5,800 flock networks. A school district is trying to answer a local administrative question.
Does this family live on the correct side of the boundary?
But the investigator can send a plate query through thousands of participating networks all across America and just violate these people's privacy in a way that has nothing to do with that local school residency. They can follow these people wherever they go. What? Now, what did the school say when this was brought up? They defended the practice, of course they did. A spokesperson told EFF that the district faces ongoing residency fraud and that Flock is one tool used to protect the integrity of the school system for families who actually live there. Beautiful. Why the does having to prove your address have anything to do with opening a national window of violation and surveillance onto everywhere a family car has ever been recorded? What the is wrong with you people? This isn't like a policy violation or anything like that either. This is just allowed. There's no rogue, freak, evil guy. These are just people just doing what they're told. The logs that EFF reviewed also contain searches described as employment or pre-employment background checks. The Little Elm police in Texas also did some shit like this. They logged 10 employment searches across more than 6,300 networks. Several other departments also engaged in similar language, and one North Carolina chief said an employment background entry was a poor description of a protective order investigation that surfaced during a background check. Why the is a surveillance plate reading database being used in any hiring process at all? That's insane as well. EFF also identified 26 agencies that searched in connection with noise complaints, loud music, house parties, and exhaust systems, dude. Colossal, unbelievable levels of misuse here, my friends. Flock. Luckily, there is a map, and you can identify where all of these things are, and you can contribute to the map, and you can even join the terroristic organization known as DFlock. I'll get to that in a second. Talked about that a little bit in the last video, but we're gonna talk about it a little bit more in this one as well, okay? These cameras are extremely hard to govern, partly because people don't know where they're at. They're on poles, entrances, they're hidden, they're in parking lots, they're on public property. But luckily, you've got things like DFlock. DFlock is a crowdsourced attempt to make the physical flock network entirely visible and accessible easily online. Volunteers photograph readers, mark locations, publish public records, and help local residents understand local contracts. The map obviously doesn't turn anything off, but it shows where these things are at. It is providing us with very basic information on the surveillance system that not a human being consented to. Of course, some people have vandalized cameras and others have posted instructions or fantasies about destroying them. I would never do such a thing. I'm a law-abiding, goateed citizen. And law enforcement obviously has an ordinary reason to investigate a specific threat against property, but there is a political aspect to this movement and a sort of civil liberty aspect to this movement. So it's a little more extreme. We have entire police departments taking the side of DFlock and you know, example, Hood County, which is a great idea. They didn't align with DFlock, but they absolutely, you know, aligned with getting the cameras out of there. But either way, political movements don't really just get immunity, if you weren't aware of that. Okay. And the surveillance cameras are property that's usually owned by the local government. So if you destroy them, it's a felony. Felony vandalism. If you're a part of DFlock, you are absolutely being monitored. And me making a video like this probably puts me in the crosshairs as well, or the camera lens. I wouldn't say crosshairs necessarily. I don't think I'm being targeted necessarily. I don't think most people are being targeted. Well, public records obtained by journalist Dan Boguslaw and later by 404 Media once again show state and regional fusion centers monitoring anti-flock organizations and anti-flock social media. A fusion center is not a weird food place, but rather an intelligence sharing office built to combine information from local police, state agencies, and federal partners. Basically a combination of intelligence. Instead of one department having a report, the data is decentralized. In Wisconsin, enforcement agencies were advised to increase patrols around plate readers during known events and to monitor connectivity to the cameras, and also review past damage and report unusual inquiries about ALPRs to the relevant fusion center. So pretty much tattletaling on people who are destroying flock cameras. So destroying stuff, you're probably gonna get in trouble. But what if you organize peacefully? That's a God-given right. That's a constitutional right. Well, what if the organized and successful peaceful protests are being placed in the same legal and official discussions as people who supported destroying the equipment? No, that would be crazy, but a Florida bulletin found that that was true. The more recent records obtained by 404 Media tracked viral Instagram and TikTok posts and warned police about an upcoming national week of action and discussed devices that could help people locate cameras. So pretty much, if you don't like flock cameras, it's the same thing as actually destroying a flock camera, unfortunately. You belong to the same intelligence narrative. You're being treated the exact same way in the database, which is pretty insane, to be honest. For example, Flock's CEO, Garrett Langley, full name, had previously called DFlock a terroristic organization, which is so evil that it is crazy. In July 2026, after those comments resurfaced, he apologized and said critics had valid concerns. DFlock says that its work is lawful advocacy, mapping, public education, and civic engagement. It does not call for destroying cameras, which that is exactly true, and that's just like me. I'm awesome just like them. So here's hoping all this comes to an end very, very, very soon. We're waiting for Donald Trump and the Trump admin's official stance on Flock. He's heard about them. All right, I just saw a clip today that he's heard about them, which is good. If he comes out against them, oh my God, that would be absolutely insane, dude. There's no way though. I feel like he's gonna just go balls deep in them like they have with Palantir and stuff. I have no idea, man. It feels like the end times though, I'm gonna be honest. And it's not because I read from the Necronomicon recently, it's because all these other people have been reading from the Necronomicon and then making entire businesses around it. So anyways, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.